Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. Well, I've just had the most frustrating customer service experience, combined customer service experience. I've had problems today with Australia Post and Sherpa. Now, Australia Post, I no longer use Australia Post to deliver anything to an address because, in my opinion, from my experience, they don't consider their job to actually deliver parcels to the address. If you have a house with a yard, they will just throw the parcel in the yard. Otherwise, if you're in a building, they will just card your mailbox. They won't actually go to the door and ring the buzzer so you can come down and get your package. They just put a card in your mailbox and keep going. They don't actually see, in my opinion, they don't actually see their role as delivering parcels to the actual address or the person it's addressed to. So I've given up. I just get everything sent to parcel lockers, which is usually not a problem, except sometimes they're full. Now, in this case, supposedly the item was too big for the parcel locker. Now, whether that meant too big for the available parcel lockers or too big for the biggest parcel locker, it didn't seem to be too big. I wasn't sure what was happening. Now, the person who sent the parcel overestimated the size and told me it was bigger than it was, so I thought maybe it was too big. But then when I saw the actual measurements of the parcel on the notification, I realised it should be small enough. So to confirm this, when I went out to do my Woolworths click and collect, I took my tape measure with me and I literally measured the largest parcel lockers that they have there, at the local one, but because they end up sending it to another suburb. They were wrong basically. The item should fit in there, and I called Australia Post and said, can you ask them at the post office to put my parcel in their parcel locker so I can pick it up and I don't have to go in? Because I'm not going in. For health reasons, I'm not going to go into a closed space, stand in a line, scrunched up with people who are going to breathe all over me, who aren't wearing masks, and then worry for the next week that I've got you-know-what. I'm just not doing it. That's why I get things sent to a parcel locker so I don't have to go into the post office. So I called them up and said, can you do it? And he said, sure, fine. Called them and they said, we already tried and it wouldn't fit. We tried and we couldn't close the door. I'm like, that's just a lie. In my opinion, that has to be a lie. Because there's no way, unless they tried to put it in one of the smaller lockers, because they said they tried to put it in the biggest locker, wouldn't fit, door wouldn't close. No way. Unless they underestimated the size on the notification. But I got the guy to ring back and ask them to measure the actual box. And I said that, well, I'm going to have to get someone to pick it up and I need to know how big it is, because if it's too big for the parcel locker, it might be too big for the delivery person. So I need to know the exact measurements. And the measurements came back exactly the same, pretty much exactly the same, within a centimetre, to the measurements on the notification, which would easily fit in the parcel locker. When I argued this with the Australia Post guy, he seemed to be helping me at first, but then he just started just quoting things from Australia Post, and he's like, no, it says the largest requirement for a parcel is like this size, this size, this size, and your package is bigger than that. I'm like, yeah, but the locker's big enough to do it. You know, the parcel's actually smaller than the locker. You can put in the locker. That whatever that measurement is, that must have been when you had smaller parcel lockers, or maybe it's in relation to post office boxes or something, because that is smaller than your parcel lockers. So it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what the system says. The parcel locker measurements are this. The parcel measurements are this. You can do it. They're just not doing it because they don't want to, because they know, because I've had stuff held and picked up by other people, that I'm not coming in because of health reasons. And because they're deniers, they want to force me to go in to prove just how right they are, that there's no problem, there's no reason why you can't come in and pick it up. Even though you have the right to have it held and have someone else pick it up for you, we're not going to respect that. We're going to just ignore all that and try and make you come in and pick it up just so we win, just so we can basically show you that, you know, you're going to have to do this, or there's no reason why you can't do this because there's no problem, because we're denying this certain problem, which I'm not mentioning my name, as you might notice. So I give up on that. I'm like, fine, that they're not going to do it. I can't make them tell the truth. I can't make them do it if they're not going to do it, because in the past, I've had a couple of items go to them and they put it in the parcel locker. It wasn't a problem, but this time they're using the size as an excuse to get around it when there is no size issue. So I called Sherpa. I didn't want to use Uber because they didn't have an actual customer service centre. So I called Sherpa, asked a couple of questions, and the lady said, yes, you can book a time to pick this up. We'll pick it up and bring it to whatever address you need. And I said, well, I just need them to bring it out of the building and give it to me. I can literally meet them out the front of the building or next door because the town hall backs onto the Australia Post. So the wall of the Australia Post basically has like a garden and like benches and stuff, and then they've got a lawn out the front. So, I just gave that as the delivery address, and the pickup address was Australia Post. And I'm like, so basically I can just pick a time and they'll do that, and then I just need to be ready. And she said, yes, sure. But then she said, oh, actually, no, because I like the idea of putting the appointment out earlier, the booking out earlier, and then having, someone say they're going to actually pick it up. She said, no, actually, we can't actually put it up until it gets to that time. So you can set a time for 3 o'clock, and then we'll put it up at 3 o'clock, and whoever's in the area can take on the assignment and pick it up. But you can't actually make a booking and actually have someone say, yes, I'll be there at 3 o'clock today, and have them be there. So she was totally wrong. I'm like, fine, whatever. So I tried to make a booking at 3, couldn't do it. Tried to make a booking at 4, couldn't do it. Realised that you couldn't make a booking even for them to show up, like pick a time. You can only basically initiate a window now, because each time I tried to do it, it would revert back to the current time. So I could try and book it for a certain time, but then when I went to the next screen, it would go back. So it wasn't working. So I said, fine, I give up. And I was arguing with Australia Post, still on the phone at the time, and there were problems with the order. It wouldn't accept my phone number, so I tried another phone number. I tried my own phone number like 3 times. Finally, it went through. I didn't change anything, but it just worked that time. But this time it was like 4:38, so they had like just over 20 minutes to pick the item up. So if there was someone in the area, like literally like on High Street, they could have done it, wouldn't have been a problem. But anyone further, they probably wouldn't have been able to do it. So I wasn't expecting anyone to accept the offer. And then some guy accepts it, and I'm like, oh, he must have been nearby. And I'm like, are you at the post office? And he said, no, I'm at Bell Street. And I'm like, I'm looking at the time, like, he's not going to make it from Bell Street. And he didn't. And what I found out later was they didn't send the instructions through in the booking, because you have to write out all the instructions. And I said, I need you to do this, 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 this. I need to give you, I need to authorize you to actually be the person to pick it up, and you have to show ID and, all this sort of stuff. And he didn't get any of that. He just got the address and went to the address thinking I just have to be here in a 2-hour window. And I don't know what he thought. I was going to just show up and give him something to take somewhere else. I don't know what he thought, but he just made a bunch of assumptions because he didn't have any information. So basically, showed up, sent me a photo to say he was there, and I'm like, why aren't you going in? Because he didn't even realise he had to go into the post office. He just thought that was the address he was collecting something else from or meeting someone at. And then he's like, oh, they're closed. I'm like, oh, for God's sakes. And of course they charged me because he accepted the offer. I'm like, but you accepted an offer. You didn't even know what it was. You couldn't fulfill the order, but you accepted it. You shouldn't have accepted it unless you knew, because, I mean, it's not my fault that you couldn't pick it up by 5. If you couldn't pick it up by 5, you shouldn't have accepted it. I just would have had to, the order wouldn't have been accepted. I would have just had to, try again tomorrow, earlier in the day. So I called up the customer service and argued with them, and so many things went wrong. The wrong information I was given about being able to make a booking and be able to set a time, and then the wrong information about being able to change the time on the thing, because when you try and change the time, it just reverts back to the current time. And they're telling me, you can do it. And I'm like, no, you can't. I'm sitting here. I've done it. You can't do it. And they're like, no. This is how it works in theory. This is what we're told. This is how we're told it works. That's right. You're wrong. I'm like, no, I'm actually on the website trying to do this, and it's not working. Don't tell me it's not working. It's not working. Just inform whoever you need to that there's a problem and get them to sort out what's wrong and fix it. They kept arguing with me that, no, you're wrong. It's not happening. And then they went into, oh, you should have known the information wasn't sent to the driver. Like, how can I know what information you've sent to your driver? And if they've even read it, like, I can't know. I assume if I put information into the form, you send it through, included in the booking. I can't see the booking myself. I'm not an Uber driver. I'm a Sherpa driver. I can't see that. But they blamed me and said, no, you should have known and called us up and given us the information again, so it's your fault. And I'm like, the person had already, I couldn't have even seen the order until the person accepted it. And even then, I would have had to spot the missing information when there's no areas to indicate that there should have been information there. So, and I'm just looking at the website saying, this website is not working properly. It's not doing what it's supposed to. And also the charge, they charge you up front, and then if the person cancels or they cancel, you get a full refund. If you cancel, they only give you a partial refund, and that's essentially a cancellation fee. I didn't cancel. He didn't get there in time to fulfill the order, and he didn't know that because he didn't get the information because they didn't put it in the order. So nothing I've done is wrong, and they just keep arguing with me that it's my fault. And he was arguing with me even about the screen. I'm like, because I was saying, how much did I get refunded? How much have you charged me? What is the essential cancellation fee, which is the amount left after the refund, partial refund? And he wouldn't tell me. He said, it's on your screen. I'm like, it's not on my screen. I'm looking at the screen. All it says is the original amount charged. It hasn't updated. Tell me the amount. He's like, no, it's on the screen. I can see it, so you should be able to see it. I'm like, it doesn't matter what you see on your system in the Philippines. I'm here in Australia, and it's not on there. And how you're telling me this website and the system works isn't what it's doing. So you keep telling me that I'm like imagining things or I'm lying or something. What you need to be doing is writing down what's wrong and sending a case through to someone and saying, this customer has experienced this problem. Look into it, work out what's wrong. If there's a problem, fix it. And they just kept arguing that I was wrong, and just the most nonsensical things, like with the booking. He was saying, oh, it's the same thing. A booking is the same as a window. Like, no, it's not. If I make a booking and you say you're going to be there at 5 o'clock to pick up an item, that's not the same as opening a window between 5 and 7 and you showing up anytime during that 2 hours. They're different things. They say, no, it's the exact same thing. I'm like, wow, this person is either warped or just messing with me. And that's all they did for the whole time. I eventually got the amount they refunded me out of them, or because I don't know, it hasn't arrived yet, so I didn't know what they were refunding. So I eventually got that out. I eventually got them to admit that the information should have been sent through with the form and should have appeared on the booking. So I eventually got them to admit that. And I eventually got one of the guys, he said, I don't know if I believe him, that he was going to send a couple of reports through to their tech department to say that this wasn't working. But he kept saying, well, no one else has said this, so it can't be happening to you because it hasn't happened to anyone else. I'm like, well, how would you know? I've been arguing for 5 hours. I imagine most people would have given up after like the first call and you guys ignored them. So maybe this happened to a bunch of people, but they never got the complaint anywhere because you deliberately tried to obstruct it. So you can't use that as an excuse. Well, it hasn't happened to you, so it hasn't happened to someone else, so it couldn't happen to you. That's you can't use that as an excuse. It was just insanity. And I just argued with them for hours, and I was right the whole time. I kept proving them right, and they'd just say, we don't acknowledge it. It's like, no, we don't acknowledge it. And that's the same thing. You should have done that. You should have known that we didn't send the information out, and you should have been able to see what was on the other person's screen to know that it wasn't provided to them. Somehow I should have known that. It was just the most ridiculous crap. And that's where I was left at. Basically at 10 o'clock, the last thing I got the guy to do was actually tell me how much the refund was, so I knew how much I was actually charged. And then I think their call centre closed at like 10 o'clock. So when I tried to call back at like 10:01, it said there was no one there. So I'm guessing because the other one, the first person I spoke to was an Australian call centre, and that hadn't been going through since like 5 o'clock. So I think they closed at 5. So it's just ridiculous. This is customer service. I don't understand how these people get jobs in customer service. I don't understand why, like, if you are a business, why you would allow people to represent you that antagonize and provoke and mock and bully and just make the customer hate the service so much they never want to use it again. I'm not going to use Sherpa. I will use Uber, even though I can't speak to anyone. If something goes wrong, I have to send emails. I can't give these people more of my money. They stole my money. They took my money for a service and kept it even though they didn't provide the service. And the service wasn't cancelled by me. It wasn't able to be fulfilled because they didn't provide the information for the booking that they're supposed to provide the driver. But yet they stole my money basically. They took my money, didn't provide a service. And as a customer in Australia, there's laws protecting customers, and there are rules, and you can't just do that. You can't just take someone. You have to refund someone if no. And they act like, no, we can make up our own rules. No, we have laws to protect the customers and the public, and you have to abide by them. And yes, I may have to try and find a body to make you do it, but you have to. And they were just doing whatever they wanted. They just reasoned whatever they wanted and just made up whatever fictions and imaginatory experiences. Like, you're not seeing what you're seeing. It's like this. You're wrong. I'm like, I'm looking at the screen. Don't tell me what my screen is saying. it was just it's just you're like, I can't believe this. I can't believe these people either are this deluded or will go this far to mess with someone who's already stressed and frustrated by the experience and hasn't got the service they want. And they're not going to use the service again. They're not going to be able to tell anyone to use it. They're not going to say anything good. How is this good for your business to have people, not have the service work and then just aggravate them and make them hate it and resent it and you just get nothing but bad, bad. I have to stop talking. I needed to vent that. I needed to get that out. I can't believe how these people act. Just deciding not to do their job or just denying there was a problem and just blaming the customer instead of saying, we're sorry, we'll work out what went wrong. Here's your money back. Sorry, please try us again. Hopefully, things will go better.